G'day, Oscar Piastri's win in the Miami Grand Prix was indeed a special one. It brought a tear to his eye. Having completed a hat-trick of wins, and that's a cricket term meaning 3 in a row, Oscar Piastri broke his steely demeanour on the podium yesterday. You see, this was the first race that his father Chris had been present. He'd watched all the other races on TV, but being there is something special. Caught up with Chris on the deck of the hospitality suite after the race, and he was overjoyed, as you can imagine. He told me he was standing below, and this is in fact him here, watching the drivers being presented on the podium, and he was very open about the fact that he was in tears. And at some point he told me that Oscar made eye contact with him, and he could very clearly see in Oscar's eyes a tear or two. Now this from a man who rarely shows emotion. In fact, if you saw him get out of the car in Parc Ferme, I'm sure you would have noted his enthusiasm, all those fist pumps, and that's something we haven't seen from the young Australian this year. Back to teary dad Chris. We posed for this photo with Lando's dad out on the hospitality deck with a simple caption, 1-2, and I can tell you that both of these dads are indeed fine gentlemen. And after Parc Ferme, I was walking back along pit lane, and I see this, Lando's manager, his race engineer, and his father having an in-depth chat with team principal Andrea Stella on the pit wall. Of course, we have no idea what's gone on in the race, so I figured it might have been something pivotal, but I've still haven't worked out what it could have been, but obviously I didn't have time to stick around and listen. Do you have any clue? Now, let's go on to other things that happened over the weekend. Oh, first of all, please hit the subscribe button. About 50% watching aren't subscribed. Here's your chance to remedy that. Police escorts. The drivers have had them provided by the circuit for the past couple of years. However, the circuit decided this year that no, that's not something we're stumping up for. If you want them, you can arrange them. It's $800 US a day for each of the transfers. So you might have 2 drivers and perhaps team principals. And that covers you going to the track and returning to the track. I can tell you that one team, Sauber, did not stump up for the drivers' police escorts, and there may have been others, but certainly for the likes of Lewis and Charles and the big names in Formula One, they need that police escort. Is it dangerous? No, it's just that the traffic is horrendous at night, and even if you come late in the morning to the track, a 30-minute journey could be 90 minutes, and they make a hell of a noise when they pass you on the freeway. Now, thank you to those people who messaged me saying they saw me on the Sky broadcast on the grid walk with Mark Brundle. This was my angle of that shot. A lot of you were asking about the Lego cars. How was it? It's phenomenal. When you first see it, it blows your mind. 400,000 bricks, 22,000 hours to make one of these cars, all hand-pieced together, and it was done in Europe, and the cars shipped over here. You probably saw a bit on television. There was an incident at one of the turns because, yes, they drove around the track. 20 kilometres an hour was the speed. Every car had 2 drivers on it, and it was a tremendous promotion for Lego. But get this, I believe there will be a trophy at one of the upcoming races made from Lego bricks. I'm going to guess Las Vegas. Could be wrong, but I know that one race will have Lego trophies. Let's quickly talk wives, girlfriends, and family at the track this weekend. Let's start off with Oscar Piastri's girlfriend, Lily Zanaima, and of course we've mentioned his dad. Lando's dad, Adam, was about, Charles' girlfriend, Alexandra, and their dog, Leo, despite the fact that these signs are at all the entrances, and I'm not sure that Leo fits this category, but anyway, special compensation for an F1 driver. Oh, and I did see Alexandra picking up one of the dog's poos on the AstroTurf at some point, so well done to her. Can you guess this couple from the silhouette pic? Yes, this is George and his girlfriend, Carmen. Fernando had many family members here this weekend, like he did last year, including his mother, Kimi Antonelli's dad, Marco, who looks like he's attending all races, Pierre's girlfriend, Kika, Jack's dad, Mick, and his mum, Selena, and girlfriend, Ebony. Liam Lawson's girlfriend, Hannah, was looking stunning, as was Lily He, who is a professional golfer, and very much into handbags. And this one caught my attention. I thought it was initially a toy bird she had in her hand, but no, it is a handbag, and it's clearly visible here on the table. And then the next day, she came in with another very unique piece of fashion. Here's another picture of Lily coming back through the tunnel after Alex's impressive effort in qualifying. And I do love the fact that Alex is not frightened to show when he's pretty happy. He was animated in this conversation with Lily, and I got a funny face here as he came through the section of that tunnel where the driver portraits are on either side. Rebecca Donaldson was here, and big on social media. 2 of my biggest posts featured her and Carlos together. Not my biggest post, that was reserved for this picture taken 3 years ago here in Miami of Kelly and Max. The announcement that Max had become a father took place on the Friday morning here at the track. and finally Gabriele Bortoletto's girlfriend, Isabella. Now, waving the checkered flag this weekend was Jack Whitehall. You'll remember that Jack hosted the season launch earlier this year. And what got me was he was waving it from the pit wall at ground level, not up in the gantry. And I thought that was the only flag, but then I did see a couple of other video shots and realised for some reason they had two flags waving. Is that unusual? I don't know. If you don't like celebrities, just tune out for a second. DJ Khaled was there. Timothy Chalamet, he was very popular, walked the whole length of the paddock with security around him. He was a guest of Visa Cash App. He's going out with Kylie Jenner, but I know him for the star of the movie A Complete Unknown about Bob Dylan, where he was fantastic. Did I read somewhere that Charles picked him to play him if there's ever a movie about Charles Leclerc? Lisa from Blackpink, I photographed her, I think it was last year. She is amazingly popular on Instagram. Veteran actor Michael Douglas looking sharp. Boxer Connor Bean with some impressive jewellery. Yes, Tiesto, legendary DJ. And this lady, Demi Bagby, ending up upside down doing twirls and spins in the paddock. She's a Red Bull guest. Here's Ollie's art from the weekend. Ollie's a Red Bull mechanic, and he does a little drawing every race weekend, somewhere around the pit box. I was at turn 1 from the start. Yes, I found Liam Lawson facing the wrong way. But here's something I'd not considered in the past, and I don't know why I haven't seen this. The medical car actually went past him and continued to chase the field. So I'm figuring at some point, did Liam catch up to the medical car and overtake it? Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen my reels. I did one on the weekend about the price of food in the paddock. I was picked up by the British newspaper The Sun, which I'm grateful for. Obviously, it's great exposure. They pretty much quoted me word for word about how expensive things were at the track. And in terms of expensiveness, it's not the worst we see. But what they didn't quote was that those prices were pre-tax and pre-tipping. So if they thought they were expensive, know that there's at least another 7 or 27% to go on top of that. Jump straight into the McLaren drivers in Grand Wagoneers. This is a Jeep SUV. Next up, Ferrari and Purosangues were the order of the day. But Fred Vasseur was in a Maserati Grecale. Let's go to Red Bull now, and I took these photos on Thursday. That's the day that Max Verstappen wasn't there. And in his car park was a Tesla, but I don't think that's what Max was driving. And I've got Yuki Tsunoda down as driving a Ford Explorer. Both Aston Martin drivers driving DBXs as per usual. Pierre Gasly in a Denali Yukon. Esteban Ocon was in a big GMC. Oliver Bearman in a Genesis GV80. I had to look this one up. This is a vehicle from Hyundai. It was fully electrified SUVs for both of the VCARB drivers. Honda Prologue Elites, to be specific. Alex Albon in a beautiful BMW X7. Carlos Sainz in a Denali Yukon. There was an Audi parked in Nico Hulkenberg's spot, and an Audi A5 for Gabriele Bortoletto. And the final 2 cars were standouts. Well, it was actually 3, because both of the drivers were in these AMG SL63s, which they were doing some filming in on a day prior to the race weekend out and around Miami. And Toto Wolff, well, he was driving this. And isn't that artwork glorious? Was it as good, though, as the Ford Raptor being driven by Christian Horner? This was a true muscle car in that car park, and it certainly grabbed my attention. And this is where all of the F1 drivers and team principals park. I was waiting in the corridor for about the last 5 laps of the sprint race on Saturday, and I noticed the trophies were being wheeled out, but I've never seen this done before. The gentleman who was in charge of those trophies had 20 stickers, one with each driver's name on it, and he had them ready to go. And it was funny because he'd say, right, can I put them on now? And the assistant would say, no, race is not over yet. And they'd wait another 5 or 6 minutes, and he'd go, now, can I put them on now? No, you have to wait for the final nod from race control, and only when that was provided were those stuck on. Lance Stroll, we don't often see him out in the general throng of things in the paddock, enjoying himself, but that was the case on a couple of days with him throwing an American football around. I had a chat with Henry Howe and mentioned that one of the NFL guys had said he's got a little arm on him, meaning he was pretty adept at throwing a football. And Henry mentioned he was also a very handy ice hockey player, but not much of a kicker. If you watch my pre-race video, we spent a little bit of time talking about the signage above the garages, and on Thursday it featured all of the artists that were on the new F1 album, because they were doing a promotion here at the track, and it was a big promotion. Well, I expected that to be there all weekend, but boy was I wrong, because when I headed back from the main qualifying session on Saturday, I noticed they'd all been changed to drivers' names and photos. So those people getting upset that they were there all weekend, it was a waste of time and not in the spirit of the sport, I can tell you, you will be calm and delighted now to know that that was not the case. You might know Winnie Harlow, a very well-known model, and a friend of Lewis Hamilton's. She was at the track on Friday rolling up in this gorgeous Porsche, and I happened to capture a couple of images of her looking magnificent on the front bonnet, and even just sitting in the car looking out. Saturday, of course, we had the sprint race, and it was full of drama and excitement, but just as the cars were leaving pit lane, we had a sudden downpour, and it was a heavy one. I went to the back of the grid to capture all those cars coming at us, and it's really a quite marvellous shot, as you can see here. The rain is being thrown upwards from those tyres, and it looks quite gorgeous. And unlike main race day, where the cars can do 4, 5, 6 laps before they come onto the grid, prior to the sprint race, they just come out of the pits and go straight to the garage. So you bowl that shot in just a few minutes. It reminds me very much of Hockenheim when Daniel Ricciardo came onto the grid with Max Verstappen behind, although that shot had the added feature of a grandstand full of very colourfully dressed people. But still, it's not very often we get those conditions where you can shoot a shot like this. Before I leave you here from sultry Miami, let's have a look at the odds for an Oscar Piastri win this year. He's shortened dramatically. He's now at $1.61. You put $1 on, you will win 61 cents and get $1.61 back. Lando Norris has ballooned out to $2.85. Max is $9 and George Russell $31. The rest of them, it's $51 upwards. The betting money says that we're going to see the first Australian F1 Drivers' Champion since Alan Jones. Now, please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Like the video if you haven't liked it already. For a whole lot of extra social media content and merchandise and more at kimilman.com. That's where you need to go. Thanks for watching. Stay passionate. This is a test. This is a test of audio and video.